Hi dear friends, welcome back for the English class. Today's lecture we are going to deal chapter number 2, Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom. Now when we just hear of walk, it's not the walk that people take in order to keep oneself healthy. Long Walk to Freedom is, let us bring to our mind our Mahatma Gandhi, father of our nation. He did have this walk, long and perhaps very long walk for freedom. After Gandhiji, Nelson Mandela is also regarded who has fought for his or who had fought for his people in order to eradicate discrimination, in order to eradicate racial problem and bring dignity in bring dignity to people. My dear friends, Nelson is going to be taught by Wilson. Now let's pay attention to this chapter. In order to have, it's a very lengthy chapter, lengthy perhaps when you read. You need to have a pre-reading, you need to have a post-reading in order to understand what exactly Nelson Mandela wants to tell us. When we just open this chapter, chapter number 2, Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom, the very first stanza, very first line, Thabo Merki, that is Becky, you can read because it's a proper noun, can be read as it is, no issues. Was sworn in as first deputy president when it was my turn. Now I would like to draw your attention to mine. When we read this language, it gives us a taste of autobiographical account of Nelson Mandela. Perhaps it is an extract taken how Nelson Mandela when became first black president of South Africa 1994, and that is how, my dear friends, we have this very aspect that we had taken. As we discussed, this is a sort of autobiographical account. In order to study this very chapter, pre-reading, post-reading, perhaps now we have with explanation. I shall be explaining. Now, in order to just pay attention on the board, we have taken 10 points in order to have a smooth functioning and understanding the text, what is in this lecture. I shall be reading different things, and this I have just briefed the points, but after each point we will be giving you kind of explanation and read out. And my dear friends, whatever things that I read for you, that will be with you. I shall be giving after this lecture, towards the end, or perhaps it is after the end, all the pics, all the notes that we have prepared for this very chapter, you will be having. I hope you read. Okay, taking from exam's point of view, I would like, my dear friends, you not to be much bothered about how to write and what to write in a question and answers, because as I have promised, we shall, once we reopen to the school, we resume back to the school, I would like to take down important questions, because for us, the standard of the board is very much important, as the questions are going to be asked from the board's point of view. Okay, my dear friends, so without wasting much time, let us understand what the chapter is telling us. Okay, so the very first aspect is the chapter sketch is there. It has been divided into 10 different parts. This chapter has been taken from Nelson Mandela's book of the same name, Nelson Mandela, a long walk to freedom. So therefore he writes my turn, I, me, myself. It provides us a glimpse of the early life of Nelson Mandela, his education, 30 years in prison, and pains he had suffered in his young age. The chapter recounts the fight for freedom. Now this entire chapter has been just like our Mahatma Gandhi, father of our nation, has fought for the freedom. He for his black people, he for his people fought because they wanted to have their own governance, they wanted to have their own freedom, they wanted their own space, and therefore he had taken the lead. And Nelson Mandela, his long walk, long journey, that in order to get freedom. His power, his own people were tortured, okay, and the things that they have suffered, okay. In the chapter, Mandela gives two contradictory pictures of his countrymen. What are the pictures? Now, they are not the paintings picture, which means the oppression. On one hand, how they have the painful side of their people, and the second of freedom. Okay. Painful and freedom. One is, in one picture, there are people, the black people of South Africa, how they are suffering under the rule of perhaps the white people. Freedom, how they have got liberated. And then these two pictures he wants to present. Let us talk about the main characters. In main characters we have Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela himself is going to be taking oath as the president, first South African president, black. Zenani, that is his daughter, who is very close to him. Thabo Mbeki, the first deputy president, is going to be the first deputy president, and Mr. de Klerk is second deputy president of South Africa. So they have very much. Now you can just imagine that there is an inaugural or perhaps oath-taking ceremony, and it's just a stage on which these main characters are present and they are having their turn. The chapter is nothing but a speech. The chapter is nothing but a viewpoint of Nelson Mandela. The chapter is nothing but how he wants to rule his country, which means he doesn't want to rule like an authoritarian leader. He doesn't want to show off his power. He wants to be the man of people. He wants to be a person who really helps his countrymen. Okay. Overview of the chapter. The first thing that we take as the inauguration. Okay. The beginning. It was 10th May, the day of oath, the bright and shiny day. Now that is all the description. A large number of leaders who have gathered together, internationally people have come together because it's a huge thing. A black country and a black man going to be taking up a position as the president. And therefore, there is an inaugural function, and we have, that particular place, that particular scene is going to be. Where it is? It is in Pretoria, where the first democratic non-racial government. What is the meaning of non-racial? Which means it's beyond race, caste and creed, racism, the blacks and white, that is the racial, non-racial government. They don't want to have any sort of classification in this way. Was to be installed. Okay, so Pretoria became the platform, that particular place, and that is where they held this inauguration. We move on to the topic number 4, that is swearing in ceremony of Nelson Mandela. Okay, so here in this particular point, what we have is Nelson Mandela was accompanied by his daughter Zenani. Mr. de Klerk was the first person who took the oath, second deputy president, followed by Mr. Thabo Mbeki, who swore the deputy president of South Africa, and then the turn comes of Nelson Mandela to be taking oath for the presidency. Okay, so that is how they are just giving us the order, how the ceremony of first, how they presented themselves on the stage. The second was how the perhaps the order, perhaps the sequence of the swearing in ceremony, in which when he came to take the oath, what he said? He also promised. Oath taking ceremony you must have seen in plenty of places, but at the same time, after reading after some of the memorandum and real the oath, one promises. So he promised, Nelson Mandela here promised to make the nation free from poverty, deprivation. We have been neglected, deprived of. You see today, the poor people are deprived of plenty of resources. So deprivation, suffering and sort of discrimination, very much he was against. Because for 30 years that he has fought this freedom fight, he knows what discrimination is. Being a black person in the oppression of white people, he had known what the suffering and pain is. Okay, moving on to the next point, that is display of the military power by South Africa jet. Which means South Africa now, remember, their own people, black commandos, their own people, and they are very much happy that our own person is going to be our own president. And therefore South Africa, especially because any of the presidents, but they are supposed to, on the day of oath taking ceremony, they are supposed to show also what the military has in power. Okay, so we move on to this very aspect. When Mandela had taken oath, South Africa jet displayed the military power. It also showed the loyalty of military to democracy. Democracy is very much important when you need to have, or you need to be at the position where you are going to be the ruler. Why, my dear? Because in order to take people along, and that is what he had expected. Nelson Mandela always wanted to do something in favor of people. Okay, so blah blah blah. The highest military general saluted him. Now that could never happen to a black man. Please, my dear friends, please understand. Remember, in history, perhaps thousands of years, this white have ruled black people. And first time the military general had saluted the black men. Black, they were always treated as servants. They were not the boss. But today, someone from the black community has become the president, not just an ordinary officer, is a president. And therefore, and see the very next sentence, he recounted that they would have arrested him many years before, which means the general, in protest when Nelson Mandela was, in order to fight for the freedom, he would have him arrested. Because anyone who comes against the nation, anyone who comes against the government, ruling government, the general will be allowed to arrest him. So that is what he just recounts. It was followed by playing of two national anthems. Again, because the ruling party now which is going to rule and which was ruling, that was white and the black. So both had their own different anthems, as we know, as being the part of concluding ceremony. Okay, in order to conclude the ceremony, we complete our program, we complete our functions with singing with the anthem songs or anthems of our nation. So that is what. Okay. I would like, my dear friends, you to pay attention to this. That is apartheid. Now what is this apartheid? Now this very word can be with South Africa, because in order to have racial factor, you are black, you are white, you are poor, you are rich. In Indian context and in Gujarat context, if you want to understand, as you being students, you can very well understand what the poor are, what the rich are. But when it comes to the apartheid, that is the racial factor, in order to have racial and the suffering with that, you just neglect the black people. So that is what he's trying to say, what he has felt. Okay, let's read what it is. I, Nelson Mandela, reminiscence, remember. he is studying. Let's see. Now this his swearing is over, his oath taking ceremony is over. After that display, everything was good, very good, very good. But remember, this freedom is costly. And therefore, when it was his turn now to speak, to give his first speech, he recounts by Nelson Mandela reminiscence about days gone by, which will soon be the part of the history where the whites had formed a system. Whites have formed a system, which means in order to rule, give pain, sufferings, they were only, remember, blacks were only treated like servants. And a servant in those days, not like the people who come to help us in our household work. The servants were sold. The servants had no voice. That is the situation here. Nelson Mandela, he says, I recall, I remember system of the racial dominance against the blacks. See, he's pouring out his spirit now. He's trying to say how they had suffered. Okay, and then the basis of the harsh societies which now overturned, he says, which is now overturned. New morning, a new dawn is going to be in the history of South Africa. That the policy of apartheid created a deep and lasting wound. You see, he has been got hurt with that wound on his country and its people. Okay, so he recounts the pain that he felt as a servant, as a black man. And today, on being the president of very country, he wants to remember how he had suffered. Regret of Mandela and remembrance of freedom fighters. You see, now before Mandela, before Nelson Mandela, there were plenty of people who had come to fight for. Okay, we recount Mahatma Gandhi, that is fine. But along with Mahatma Gandhi, we also remember Bhagat Singh. We also remember many other good souls who have given their life, who were brutally killed, who were murdered, who had undertaken lot of pain and suffering for our freedom. So this is what he regrets. What has happened should not have happened. And he remembers those great freedom fighters. So we have in this particular point, a lot of names and all. He said that the country is rich in minerals. After doing all these things, the people that he remembers. And at the same time, but its greatest wealth is its people. Therefore, Mandela, just like Gandhiji is going to say, and perhaps he said this, let us be united. If we remain ununited, we can get what we want. And therefore, on being the president from black community, Nelson Mandela is looking for people's support. We move on to the next topic. Okay, next topic is the goodness and duties of a man. What is a goodness? Goodness, which means in this COVID-19 coronavirus, this pandemic, when we see around, when someone is hungry, when someone is thirsty, let us give him a glass of water, a little food. It is difficult not to. Let us maintain the social distancing. Let us maintain the law and orders given by the government, but at the same time, the goodness. That in order to serve another human person, we can always go beyond the laws. Okay, so that is what goodness of duties. Goodness and duties of a man. You need to be loyal, you need to be good, but at the same time, you need to work, you need to have duty. Remember, you need to be following the rules and regulations of the government. A man has to perform duties to his family, community, and country. See, he is giving family, community, and country. You are first for your family, then for the society, then for the country. Yes. The nationalism, the patriotism, it should be there. When there is a law given by our respected president or respected prime minister, let us follow them. Because that is, as a common person, it becomes a duty. Yes, so duty. A black man was punished. He tried to live like a human being and forced to live apart from his own people. See, now what is our duty? Earlier, a black man was punished, brutally tortured, and was separated, segregated. Now we need to all bring them back. He was not allowed to perform his duties to his family because, as I said, they were servants, and servant did not have he did not have any strength, he did not have any freedom. And this very freedom, it is not just to become president, but he wants his own people to have their own freedom. Okay, moving on to the next, meaning of freedom by Mandela. Now, yes, my dear friends, everyone is free, but we have a lot of rules and regulations. We are learning, we are having, when we go for a walk, when we just move outside, we are free. But we need to follow the traffic rules, we need to follow the area and whatever the rules they are given, because we need to respect the laws. Now, what is the meaning of freedom that Mandela gives us? Let us listen to that. As a kid, Mandela had different meaning, being free, because remember, he was born a slave, a dark man, a black man, and therefore he has also experienced this servantness. What is that in him? And by nature, he has seen what a servant is. But soon he realized that such freedom was only an illusion. Remember, freedom is not just getting what you want. Freedom is you really can actualize your strength in order to upbring the society. Really, remember, my dear friends, he says all this freedom is not like I have my own freedom with my cell phone, I have my own freedom with my mobiles, my different gadgets, my different vehicles. No, freedom is when your strength, when your talent is helping you to bring up the society at large, the country at large. That is what he wants to say in this particular paragraph. Okay. Now, the chapter highlights, again, let us remember, my dear friends, I would be giving you the notes at the same time. Let us pay attention on the board. The chapter highlights has also been summarized in 14 different points. You need to read them. It's like 10th of May. The first is when the inauguration ceremony was there. The inauguration, freedom, dignity is later. Nelson Mandela gave speech. Mandela pledged, and his, why he and what exactly he stressed on the discrimination's point of view. A colorful show by the jet and helicopters, whatever that is, the display of the South African army. Celebrations of the great fighters, because he remembers, he regrets and remembers apartheid in South Africa. He knows what he has experienced, racial discrimination that he has faced. So all these things, goodness. And lastly, after becoming the president of the country, how he wants to rule, how he wants to have the smooth functioning of his own country, how he wants the others also to have the freedom as well as respect the freedom of the persons. Okay, my dear friends, so let us again have a look on the board and let us understand what this chapter is. Chapter number 2, Nelson Mandela, A Long Walk to Freedom. He is on his day of oath-taking ceremony. He is giving a speech. In speech, he stressed on the human dignity, because he came from a black community of South Africa as a servant, and now to be taking oath, he is going to be honored, he is going to be the president of the very country. Now that is a long thing, as I said earlier, it is a lasting thing. He has struggled a lot in order to get freedom over years, and at last he is not just happy in order to get the freedom. He is happy because he can give justice, due justice to human beings as well. No discrimination. Okay, so this chapter can teach us how we should respect each and every person, and we shall also, as I said, we shall also be discussing about the question and answers once I formulate certain things into the points. Thank you very much, my dear friends. Have attention on the book.